Good evening, Clarion, and welcome to this special edition of CU Countdown NFL Draft Special. CU TV's annual NFL Draft Show, as we give you everything that you need to know for the upcoming NFL Draft, which is only 3 weeks away, and we are all very excited. I'm Matt Catrillo, my panel here. To my left, Alex Kozora. I know this is your personal Christmas, so again I say to you, Merry Christmas, Alex.
Well, thank you very much. It's a little disappointing the draft's later this year, the first week of May, but very excited.
Yeah, I know. We can't watch it together this year. Kind of disappointing.
I'm crushed.
And our newest panelist this year to our annual draft show, Mr. Tyler DeGiacomo. Tyler, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. I'm replacing Ian Hunter. Big shoes to fill, but I'll try to do my best.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do just fine. So, guys, let's jump into it with our top 5 prospects we'll get to in just 1 second. But first, I want to get your overall take from you guys on this year's 2014 NFL draft class. Alex, we'll start with you.
Well, we say it's an exciting class every year, so maybe it's a little cliche, but I really believe that it is true this year. You talk about the depth at some key positions. Wide receiver is as deep as really it's ever been. I just remember Kevin Colbert, the Steelers GM, say, this is the deepest draft he's seen in his 30 years in the business. I think one of the most interesting positions, and we'll talk about it a little later in the show, is quarterback. It's such a divisive position. You have guys in extreme camp both ways, saying that Bridgewater can be franchised. Some people will say he's a bust. Same with Manziel and Bortles. So it's divisive at quarterback. It's deep at wide receiver. It's deep at cornerback. And there can be some gems, too. Running back, it's not top-heavy, but there's some guys to like there. And same with tight end. So it is, like I said, the cliche, but it's an exciting draft class.
Yeah, quarterback, Alex, certainly has been the great debate of one of many great debates of this year's draft class, and we'll certainly get to that later on in the show. Tyler, your thoughts overall of this NFL draft class?
I think the same thing Alex said. A lot of depth here. I think there's really no true number one. We're going to go over that. But a lot of depth here, a lot of late-round guys that could contribute there in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round on that 3rd day of the draft. So a lot of players to keep an eye on that 3rd day of the draft, guys that they can contribute this year and that next couple of years. There's a lot of key parts going to be on that 3rd day of the draft this year.
Yeah, I think so, too. And I think we're going to be anticipating probably one of the wildest first-round drafts that I think we'll see in quite some time. Sal Palantino just reporting the other day that a lot of teams in the top 5 looking to trade down. Some teams looking to come up. So I think it's going to be a really crazy first round, but we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. So, guys, let's get to it now. Our top 5 prospects for this year's NFL draft class. Alex, I'm going to start with you.
Now we're going to see the graphic here in just a second of my top 5. And number 1, as it is with most teams, you see on the screen, Jadeveon Clowney, explosion at 6'6". Guys that big should not move that well. An elite swim move. Statistically, he was down only 3.5 sacks his senior year, but that's because he was doubled and triple teamed. Just a supreme athlete for that size. It's just a very, very rare, unique kind of guy. 2012, 23.5 tackles for a loss, 13 sacks. Violent hands, strength against the run. A couple flaws, plays too high. The swim move is a crutch, but a heck of an athlete. Khalil Mack, number 2, outside linebacker from Buffalo, a guy with 75 tackles for a loss in his career. That ties an NCAA record. 16 forced fumbles. That's an NCAA record. A guy that's athlete, can play with his hand up and hand down. Sammy Watkins is number 3, the wide receiver from Clemson. 6'1", explosive, a huge playmaker. Guy with over 1,200 yards his senior year. Caught 16 passes for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns in the bowl game against Ohio State. My number 4 is Blake Bortles. He's my number 1 quarterback, the prototypical size, a guy that has a good arm, not elite, but a good arm, feels the rush well, stands tall in the pocket, and I don't think he's as much of a developmental prospect as some people make him out to be. At number 5, it's a little unconventional, but Eric Ebron, the tight end from North Carolina, ran a 4.6 40, over 900 yards his senior year. A vertical threat at tight end, one of those new age move tight ends that every team covets, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. A lot of good players that have been mentioned, that have been talked about, that have been debated as we look through at this draft class for this year. Tyler, let's get your top 5 in here.
My top 3 is the same as Alex here. I got Clowney number 1, which, it was a great prospect there. There were some reports that he kind of has a slow motor at South Carolina, but the man is a physical beast. The man came straight out of high school and contributed in the NFL there. Also, I got Khalil Mack, number 2, that little undersized, coming from the Buffalo there in the Mack, but still a great player, a little undervalued. No one knew much about him, but once he came on the scene this year and during the draft combine, head started really turning on him. Number 3, Sammy Watkins, a couple odds and ends here, but a great athlete, very versatile, very fast, will look good on any offense. He should be a lottery pick, your top 3. Top 5, top 10 or so. Number 4 and 5, kind of unconventional. I got Jake Matthews going number 4 from Texas A&M. He's the left tackle with Johnny Manziel there. Great player. is a very solid guy, a lot of contributions to that team. Very steady too, and he held up well in the pocket, protecting Manziel there. Number 5, very different there. I'm going with Taylor Lewan, the outside tackle from Michigan. A lot of off-the-field issues, this past summer and in the offseason here. A little unconventional. Kind of reminds me of Rich Incognito. A lot of tattoos there. So if he can harness his off-the-field issues, both those, Matthews and Lewan, will be outstanding left tackles for the next 10-plus years for a franchise.
Yeah, Lewan, a very interesting name there, Tyler. Not a lot of people have been talking about him. You mentioned the off-the-field issues, so that'll be interesting to see. We know character is always something that the NFL scouts always look towards and a prospect besides on the field. So let's get now to my top 5 prospects. First, I have Jadeveon Clowney, just to sum that up for everybody else. One phrase to describe him: freak of nature. Just unbelievable motor that he has in Jadeveon Clowney. Second, I have Jake Matthews, the offensive tackle from Texas A&M. And guys, this is one of the most athletic linemen I have ever seen. His technique is absolutely textbook and flawless. This guy is incredibly athletic, as I mentioned before. And as I say in each game, once he gets his hands on you, it is over. What's even more amazing is his ability to stick with his blocker through the whole play, especially with a quarterback like Johnny Manziel. Sometimes takes a long time to make a play. He is absolutely a top 5 pick. Next, I have Sammy Watkins at 3, just like you guys as well, the wide receiver from Clemson. Definitely one of the fastest receivers in this draft. 4, I have Khalil Mack, the outside linebacker from Buffalo. He is also one of the fastest linebackers that I've ever seen in this draft. I'll be curious to see how he does against some of the tougher competition. Probably the worst game I saw 3 games of him, one of them in particular against Baylor. Didn't have his best game, but still made himself in there. Likes to weave in and out of defenders, and still gets pressure on the quarterback, which I think is very, very impressive. But still needs to work on a bit of a swim and spin move a little bit as he continues going towards the draft. And 5th, I have Mike Evans, wide receiver from Texas A&M. I just love the versatility that he brings. He's got tremendous hands, 6'5", 234, great size. Love Mike Evans. He'll definitely be an interesting commodity of a receiver, as we'll talk about him coming up next.
With Khalil Mack, the big thing with him, the knock on him, he's a Mack kid. He's not going to play against the big boys. Ohio State, first game of the year, he had, I think, 2 sacks, an interception return for a touchdown, outran Braxton Miller on that 46-yard interception return. So a great athlete. He can play hand up or hand down. The competition is not going to be an issue with Khalil Mack. He's the real deal.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just want to see him a little bit more in some of that tougher competition, because a lot of the teams that he played in Buffalo's conference are some teams that obviously haven't really brought in too much NFL talent, but we've seen in the past, of course. But majority of the teams, or some of the teams that he did play, that have a majority of the NFL draft players that we see constantly, he didn't perform his best, but he was still somewhat effective. So I'm just curious to see how that plays out.
Another thing about Mack, you would think for his small size, he kind of get blocked behind those linemen stuff, but he has a great vision to see through that line, sees through the lineman. Does an outstanding job getting off blocks too. So that's something else that's going to translate very well to the next level.
You talk about guys that can bend, get skinny around the edge, have that hip-ankle flexibility, along with quick, active hands. I think he's got the full arsenal. And a lot of these college kids, they're raw, they're pure, speed rushers. Mack isn't. He's got the complete package, and that's what makes him so exciting.
Yeah, I think his speed alone will definitely help him in making an NFL roster and making an impact in the NFL, because a lot of defensive guys have speed, of course, very obvious going into this draft. So definitely an interesting prospect to look out for. Coming up next here on CU Countdown, we're going to go through some receiver talk, definitely one of the strongest positions in this class. That's coming up next here on CU TV.
Now even better with your My Sheets card. From food to gas, you save on nearly everything at Sheets, and the deals don't stop there. Go online and find a full complement to the My Sheets card, where you can get access to exclusive deals that are redeemable at all Sheets locations. Sign up is quick and easy, and the card also allows you to pay after you pump. Don't delay, head to the Clarion Sheets on East Main Street and get your My Sheets card today.
2 outs with a runner on first base. Now the big guy comes up to bat, hitting .342 with 92 RBIs and 36 homers.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov. Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to CU Countdown NFL Draft Special here on CU TV. Matt Catrillo here with you, and joining me once again, Alex Kozora and Tyler DeGiacomo. Guys, let's get into some receiver talk. As we mentioned in the first block, definitely the top class in this entire class. And we'll start first with our top 5 receivers. Alex, we'll start with you.
We're going to start with me. Okay, like I said before, Sammy Watkins, explosive. He's the #1 on pretty much everyone's board. So we don't have to go too much in depth with him. Again, talk about explosive, a playmaker. We'll drop an occasional pass, but other than that, very few flaws in this game. And he has some size at just under 6'1". Mike Evans, a guy that's 6'4", 6'5".
6'5".
In my true heights, which measures height plus arm length plus vertical, he graded out better than anybody else at the combine. A guy with a 37-inch vertical. You talk about the catch radius, a guy you can just throw up and go get it. That's what Johnny Manziel did quite often at Texas A&M. So big fan of Mike Evans, though below Watkins. For my number 3, a guy that doesn't get a whole lot of love because his class is so deep, Devontae Adams from Fresno State. A guy that's not 6'5", he's just under 6'1". But what I love about him, I love his explosion. That burst off the ball, can win off the line. He's a natural separator for his size. A guy who plays with a big catch radius. He's a great leaper. He's got a 39.5-inch vertical he did at the combine, and just productivity as well. And that can be a little overstated, especially in Fresno State's offense that threw the ball 62% of the time. But 24 touchdown catches in 2013. The next closest in Division I in touchdown catches were 18. Number 4, Odell Beckham Jr. Like Adams, that explosion, that quick to the tuck. You can catch the ball and get upfield. But also offers return value, soft hands, a natural catcher away from his body. Even in soft zones when he can body catch, he won't. He'll pluck the ball away from his body. Odell Beckham, but lean frame, and he does have relatively short arms. And I think that long speed is not elite. Number 5, Jordan Matthews. You think of Jordan Matthews, you talk about toughness. Guy, triangle number 6'3", 212, ran a 4.46 40 at the combine. He's not an elite athlete, but he's not a possession receiver either. I just remember the Ole Miss game. It was hot. It was late in the game. He took a big hit going across the middle, got sick on the field, comes back 2 plays later, catches a go route on 4th and 18 to keep that game alive. Another guy with soft hands, will occasionally let ball into his hands, and doesn't have elite speed. Well, Jordan Matthews is my number 5 wide receiver.
Yeah, Jordan Matthews, certainly, Alex, a really tough receiver to look out for in this draft class. Tyler, let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, just to touch on Alex's real quick. Yeah, Watkins and Evans definitely number 1 and 2. That kind of drops off a little bit just to add on Watkins a little bit. Does have some off-the-field issues a little bit. Does have some durability problems. Dealt with a knee injury and a shoulder injury the last 2 seasons. So a couple things that I watch for him. Mike Evans also, yes, 6'4", 6'5", about 230 or so. This man's built like a basketball player. This man played basketball back in high school. Very big body. He is at 230. I'm not sure if that's a little bit too big for him here at NFL level. I'm not sure if the speed's going to translate, but still a very great prospect there. Does have a slight separation problem sometimes. It just kind of gets lost over there in the shuffle. Number 3, close to Alex, I have Odell Beckham Jr. there, LSU, 5'11", 198. Not an elite athlete, not an elite receiver. He's a system fit. I think it'd be great for a team in the mid-first round, maybe second round or so. Does have a case of dropsy sometimes, but he can work on that. Number 4, a little bit high here on Kelvin Benjamin, 6'5", 240 out of Florida State. He's a sophomore. Did have some immaturity issues this year with Florida State and last year, but he's starting to grow out of those a little bit. It does have a little bit of production issues. Does not put up the major big-time stats as these top receivers, but still a solid guy there. And same with him, a little bit of separation problem too, but something else to work on there in the NFL. Number 5, a guy that I love, Jarvis Landry, another LSU guy there, 5'11", 205. He has average height, an average build, average speed, but this man does have great intangibles. He was a team captain, I believe, there. Great on the field. But this man has great hands. This man can pick a ball out of the air. I'm not going to, compare him too much to a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, but this man be great in the slot there, great coming out of the backfield, very versatile, can run that sweep. But I said this man has great hands, so the perfect guy right in the slot, run across the middle, and grab a ball in the air.
A couple of interesting names there that maybe some haven't been mentioned quite as often as the top two, in Mike Evans and Sammy Watkins. And Tyler, to go to your point real quick on Mike Evans, I see what you're saying. I did see that kind of separation issues on tape, but I think just his size alone and his ability just to jump up and go get that ball, I think that'll cancel that out. But I do see that as a concern. I have Mike Evans as number 2 in my top 5. Sammy Watkins number 1, of course. We talked about him in a little bit more in the first block. I have Jordan Matthews 3rd, Alex. I know you have him 5. I actually think he's got a little bit more athleticism and speed than you think. I actually think he's a taller and a little bit slower, but still comparable to Deshaun Jackson. I think just the way he runs, kind of like that gazelle approach, and because he's such a big play threat, I think he can be that kind of guy to go to in the NFL. Plus, again, as we mentioned before, really tough receiver, a guy that can play through anything. So I have him in number 3. Number 4, I have Marquise Lee out of USC. We'll get into him a little bit more in the show. Such a great receiver, definitely the best route runner that I have seen in this draft. Has great hands, athletic, and keeping his feet in bounds. So you just throw on the Stanford tape in particular. Really just some unbelievable catches that he had. Very effective returning kicks and punts as well, so that makes any athlete, any NFL athlete, really athletic and also very versatile if you can play special teams effectively. Incredibly strong, and it's tough to bring down for a guy his size. And I've seen him run over a couple of guys constantly, and that's kind of impressive. That can lead to some injury issues, which he's had. He missed 3 games last year for USC, but the fact that he can hold his own and break a couple of tackles and keep the legs churning like a running back would do, I think that's very impressive, but also could be very dangerous. So he's a guy to look out for as well. And finally, I have Kelvin Benjamin, number 5. DeGiacomo, I know you talked about him a little bit. Overall, he's a nice prospect, but not really seeing the hype. Of course, has the big size advantage. He's 6'5", 234, but really doesn't wow me in particular. I think what really gets me is he has such great size, but he looks very vulnerable anytime he runs any inside routes. He doesn't use that to his whole advantage. He almost acts like he's afraid to get hit, and which I really can understand. So I think he's more of a better deep threat. He's a better route runner going on the deep pass. So I think you'll see him more effective there. But of course, that has that athleticism. We all know the great catch that he made that won the national championship for Florida State. So a couple of guys to look out for this year's wide receiver class. Yeah, I mean, it's so deep. You just saw the video. Guys, we haven't talked about Brandon Coleman, Martavis Bryant, Dante Moncrief. I'm not a big fan of Moncrief. I think he's a body catcher and inconsistent. Just to your point about Jordan Matthews, I just don't see a natural separator. I certainly do not see Deshaun Jackson. I don't see that type of burner. I do like him, but is he a natural separator? No, he gets by his physicality and that 6'3" frame that he has. Also, side note, he's a cousin of Jerry Rice. Kind of cool sidebar. Really, that's good to know. Not bad bloodlines, not bad bloodlines. But then with Jarvis Landry, it just the explosion factor. I mean, I haven't watched him too closely, but average speed, average build. Does that really warrant a top 5 pick? A guy with a 28.5-inch vertical and not great speed, didn't have a good day at his pro day. So where's that possession might be good, but where's that ceiling at? I think it's kind of capped.
Well, he's not going to be a top 5 pick. Wide receiver would probably be like a 2nd or 3rd round there. Marcus Lee did not have a great junior year, but does have good tape to fall back on his freshman and sophomore year.
Now, guys, we talked about a couple of different strategies that we can see from teams, especially in the top 5, as we go into this year's draft. We know how deep this receiver class is, and we also know other teams are going to have other needs. So what are some guys to maybe look out for in this year's class that you can wait and fall back on, or some guys you absolutely have to pick with your first-round pick?
I think you can get Adams maybe late, or late first, early second. Martavis Bryant, I think he's raw. I compare him to Stephen Hill, a raw route runner, but the frame is there at 6'3 3/4", who's a long straighter. In terms of strategy, it's going to be really, really interesting, Matt, because is there going to be a big run, and they're going to go off the board earlier than expected, or a team's going to sit and wait because of the depth? And just real quick to kind of bring it back to the Steelers, because Steeler fans love to clamor for a big, tall receiver. Don't get focused so much on the height. Focus on the ability. Give me Devontae Adams over a Martavis Bryant, even though Bryant's 2 inches taller than Adams. So just keep that in mind. Talent wins.
We'll certainly get into some Steeler talk coming on later on in the show.
No, absolutely. Just finish on Alex real quick. There's no big, tall wide receivers. There's no Larry Johnson. There's no Calvin Johnson. Mike Evans very good. Hoping Sammy Watkins doesn't turn into that. Darius Haywood Bay was very fast in college. Caught a lot of balls. Hopefully he doesn't pan out. Hope he does pan out there. Just 2 late names there. Cody Vladimir from Indiana, a guy who can go in the 3rd, 4th round there, and also Bruce Ellington, South Carolina, another good prospect there looking later rounds.
So coming up next here on CU Countdown, we're going to get into some quarterback talk. I know it's been always the big debate for this year's NFL draft class. That's coming up next here on CU TV. Don't go away.
So, I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Longing for a unique taste and a relaxed atmosphere? Look no further than 6th and Main Marketplace in downtown Clarion. With a menu to satisfy a chic palate, 6th and Main has a taste of the Strip District without the long trip home. Accompanying the food is a complement of gourmet sodas and ice creams, a fully stocked deli, delicious breads, and delectable desserts. 6th and Main offers dine-in service with a relaxed atmosphere, which will leave a distinct impression.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you were really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
Welcome back to CU Countdown NFL Draft Special here on CU TV. Matt Catrillo here with you. Alex Kozora, Tyler DeGiacomo rejoining me here. Let's get in now to some quarterback talk, as it's been the great debate of this year's NFL draft class, in particular the big three, and Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, and Blake Bortles. Tyler, let's start with you on this one. Can any of these 3 quarterbacks have success in the NFL?
I think definitely. None of them are guys that are going to start right away and make a huge impact on the team. A lot of guys, not our projects per se, but do a lot of stuff to work on. If we go in order right now, I got Bortles as my top quarterback right there. Number 2, Bridgewater. And Manziel, a little bit dropped on. I got Manziel as 3 a little bit there. Bortles, the prototypical quarterback, got the size, got the arm, needs to work on the accuracy a little bit. Teddy Bridgewater, some intangibles here and there a little bit. Doesn't have the best body, kind of slim, very lanky, got a great arm. Needs work on his mental aspect a little bit. And Johnny Manziel, to talk a little bit there too, a little bit. He's very small, but he makes a lot of great plays out in the field. Interesting to see what he projects in the next level there. But definitely, guys, all first round, in my opinion, I believe. Maybe even top 10. That's a different discussion.
Alex, your thoughts?
You know, this is, again, I talked about it before, this is the most divisive group. And let's talk about Blake Bortles for a second. And we'll go a little more with him. He's my number 1 quarterback. You know, he has the prototypical size, and I don't want to get too caught up in the size and everything. We're going to just check out this throw. I think he has a good arm, not a great arm, but a good arm. You see pressure from on the right side, off his back foot. That throw is on the money down the left sideline, right in stride. A decent athlete, that's not his biggest thing. He ran relatively well at the combine, especially, again, for his size. Again, I think he stands tall in the pocket. I think he feels the rush well, can slide and step. Productive, about a 66% completion percentage in his career, and he showed well at the combine, and he beat a team like Louisville. He beat Teddy Bridgewater. With Johnny Manziel, the talent is immense. You talk about a playmaker, electric. He's a guy that wows me, but the mechanics are numerous issues. One, reckless with the football, carries it, down on his hip, drops his elbow outside the pocket when scrambling. Mechanical issues, poor weight transfer, narrow base, front leg tends to lock up, doesn't drive the ball as well as he should. I mean, he's a heck of a player and a fantastic playmaker. This Duke game, check out this play. This is the most amazing plays of the whole season. But I have to talk myself into Johnny Manziel. And when you talk about a franchise quarterback and a first-round pick in general, you can't have that. You have to go with somebody else. So he's not that first-round guy that he really should be. And then Teddy Bridgewater, I've just started to really get a look at him. I do like a whole lot with Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's accurate, can throw on the move. He has some mobility with him. He was productive at Louisville. That team did really, really well in 2013. I don't know if he zips the ball. The velocity on his passes is really good enough, and that's a concern with me. But he did great in the Russell Athletic Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's interchangeable. A lot of people have their own different opinions. I know Ron Jaworski's one in saying he's backed this off a little bit, that he wanted to take Johnny Manziel past the second round. And I tend to agree with him. I mean, yes, he has plays that would make him a wow factor, quote unquote. But you look at that play from Duke, and I just think to myself, yeah, that's an absolutely incredible play, something that you very rarely see. But you don't see that in the NFL. And if he tried to do something like that in the NFL where he's constantly on his tippy toes trying to throw the football, so reckless with the ball, as you said, he holds it like a loaf of bread, you know, trying to break through tackles and go through 4 or 5 different guys that are twice his size, he's going to get himself hurt really easily. And you just can't form your franchise and count on a guy like that at all.
Now tell me about Blake Bortles, because you're not a fan of him, but I'm not entirely sure why. What's your issue with Blake Bortles?
To me, he just lacks that it factor. Yeah, he's okay. He's average. He's got good mechanics, good athletic ability. He has a threat to run. Doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, but to me, he just kind of lacks that it factor. The guy that I can say almost has. He doesn't have that wow factor to me, like we're talking about with Johnny Manziel. Is he better mechanically than Manziel? Absolutely, he is. He's my second. I have Bridgewater first, but you still have to wow me in some retrospect, and he doesn't do that.
Tyler, what do you think of Blake Bortles?
I think he's very good. Kind of raw a little bit now. I think you talked about your thing. He tends to loop the ball a lot. He tends to bring it down a lot. Slows down the release there. He's got very great pocket presence. This man, a lot of tape. Felt the DN come around and stepped up, and a lot of times ran out of the pocket. Got time to turn his shoulders and throw it right down the ball. And this man can take a hit. That Central Florida line isn't the best line, and he got beat up, and he got up. There's no injuries, no real durability there, but huge upside for him. Again, a little bit of project per se. Got to work on the accuracy. Huge arm, as you just saw him throw right there. But I think definitely huge upside would be the best quarterback in this draft.
So besides these key 3 quarterbacks, what other quarterbacks on your radar, guys, do you think can make an impact in the NFL?
Start with me.
Yeah.
I think the top guy for me would be Zach Mettenberger, quarterback from LSU. Tore his ACL last year, so some issues there. Mettenberger didn't have the best production there playing for LSU in the SEC. A little bit bad durability with his knee there, and a decent pocket presence. But got a great arm, got a great head right there. Played under a great coach there in Les Miles in the SEC, so he definitely saw NFL talent day in, day out. Great guy right there. Another guy I touched on real quick is Derek
Carr.
Oh my goodness,
wrong
Derek Carr. Very solid overall. Going to get better. And this man is a football guy. His brother played football. His other brother played football too. This man eats, drinks, and sleeps football. That cliche there for you. And not be the best prospect there, but definitely gone mid-late rounds. That can make an impact on an NFL team.
Alex, your thoughts on some quarterbacks here?
Well, with Zach Mettenberger, yeah, he had the ACL, but he had a full workout at LSU's Pro Day, so the
That's right,
recovery for him is absolutely miraculous, and that's going to help him. You talk about a guy with a good arm that you can get second, possibly third round. Derek Carr's another guy that's going to be, you know, that you talked about. I think Cleveland loves him a lot, and I think he has a good chance he goes there. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, the small school kid from Eastern Illinois, quick release, smart guy, had complete control of that offense, highly productive. Same school that Tony Romo went to, Sean Payton went to. I don't know if the physical tools are totally there. They're certainly not Bortles or a Manziel, but he has a quick release, and there's something there.
Yeah, Derek Carr is going to be very interesting, guys. If first of all, if he goes to Cleveland, but if he goes to Cleveland at number 4, I think that would be a little bit of a stretch considering the other 3 quarterbacks that we talked about, but certainly will be interesting to say the least. Coming up next here on CU Countdown, it'll be our Pennsylvania football segment. We're going to give everything that you need to know, what the Steelers should do and what the Eagles should do in this year's NFL Draft. That's next here on CU TV.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Tired of waiting till next summer to get your tan back? Then come on down to Total Body Tanning Center on Main Street. Fully equipped with 10 beds ranging from basic to the most powerful Star Power, 2 standing beds, and a vanity area. Total Body has everything you need to get that perfect tan. Choose from a wide array of lotions, body stickers, skinny wraps, and more. Total Body accepts $80, offers monthly specials, and even has a drawing for a free tan for 1 customer each week. So don't wait till next summer. Come on down to Total Body Tanning Center, located at 535 Main Street, right next to the county seat.
So, I got this new family. And I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Welcome back to CU Countdown NFL Draft Special here on CU TV. Matt Catrillo here with you. Alex Kozora, Tyler DeGiacomo rejoining me here. It's now time for our Pennsylvania football segment, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's starting off with the hometown Pittsburgh Steelers, and leading us off in that conversation is our biggest Steelers fan here in Clarion, Mr. Alex Kozora. Alex, what are some draft needs for the Steelers?
We're going to see on the graphic here. I mean, there's multiple positions the team has to address. The biggest is defensive end. Ziggy Hood, Al Woods, they both left in free agency. So now you're left with a whole opposite of Cam Hayward. Yes, you did sign Cam Thomas, but he is a 1-tech, not a 5-tech. He only played 5-tech because he got benched late in the year. So defensive end is the biggest need. Wide receiver, how much trust do you have in Marcus Wheaton? Inside linebacker, I do like Vince Williams. I'm a fan. I was encouraged by his progression last year, but you could see it as a need, especially after the signing of Arthur Motes. He was told he's going to get first crack at outside linebacker. And then tight end for me, I still like Heath Miller, but we recognize he's 33. He's getting up there in age. For my first round projection, as you see him, Aaron Donald, he was a defensive tackle in his senior year at Pitt. Obviously, he would kick out to defensive end in Pittsburgh. I just see defensive end is such a big need. The Steelers at defense, they pride themselves on a really good front seven, and that's just the most glaring issue on this team right now. Now I know it might be weird to have Aaron Donald there because most people see he's a 1-gap. He's a 3-tech. He's only 6. He's not even 6'1". But you look at arm length, it's 32.5 inches, which is decent for the position. It's above average for his height. And the big thing with Donald is that in 2011, his sophomore year, he started 5 games at 5-tech. Pitt ran a 3-4 defense. So he has the experience there. I like a guy like Sheldon Richardson, who I didn't think would fit the mold there. But he played 5-tech with the Jets, and he became Rookie of the Year. So it can't happen. And just a guy that's a great pass rusher, can collapse the pocket, opposite of Cam Hayward, would be absolutely huge.
Picking a Pitt product. He's not obviously very familiar with Heinz Field, so I like the pick there.
And he came in for a visit. Obviously, one of the local guys you can get that won't count against your 30, so the team has to be familiar with him.
Now, Alex, I know you have an interest in some tight ends in this class that you think would be a good fit for the Steelers, even at pick number 15. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this pick a whole lot. I mean, it's probably going to change 100 more times before draft day actually comes here. But for me, I had Eric Ebron on my first mock, the tight end from North Carolina. I talked about, I don't know if he's going to last that long, but I just talked about that vertical threat, a guy that's bigger or faster than linebackers and bigger than safeties that creates such a matchup problem. It just makes your offense so multiple. You can run 12 personnel and still have that pass-run threat. When the Steelers ran 12 personnel last year with Matt Spaeth, there really wasn't that passing threat, receiving threat from the tight end position. It was Matt Spaeth. He's a glorified lineman. So it just makes your offense more multiple. It doesn't limit you when you're in 11 personnel instead, because he can still block. Yes, he's raw there, but at least he gives you size at 245 than, say, your slot receiver. So I really like Eric Ebron. I don't know if he'll fall that far. The tight end class, unfortunately, is not very deep. It's really him and Jason Morrow, who probably won't last to the second round. But that's a possibility as well.
You can check out Alex's 2 mocks so far for the Steelers and all of his NFL draft coverage on SteelersDepot.com. I know, shameless plug there, but there you go.
That's what we do best.
That's right. Tyler, your thoughts on what the Steelers need to do in this and on all of the NFL draft?
Alex covered most of it there. His long-winded answer there. Steelers, I think they're stable. Been defense the last whole time they've been a franchise. Got to build on the defense. A lot of holes for the Steelers, but a lot of holes to fill. Definitely got to go defense. I think they need that successor to Palomalu. I know Calvin Pryor, Louisville free safety, hasn't moving up the board. Not sure of a great fit there for the Steelers, but they definitely need to go defense there. Now, he's saying there's not a great tight end drafter. Kind of a sleeper for me, tight end wise. CJ Fedorowicz out of Iowa, very great tight end there. Coming from that small school, you kind of had Gronkowski coming out of Minnesota. Fedorowicz coming from Iowa will be a great pick there. And also, I think maybe later on in the draft, not to going to top it out, but they need that successor to Ben Roethlisberger too. Been in the league 10+ years now, getting beat up. I know that they got a pretty good, solid backup right now. But definitely didn't need to succeed. A local boy, Tom Savage from Pittsburgh, would be a good pick right there.
Listen, I had 4.5 minutes to talk, I was told, so I'm going to be a little long-winded here. Cornerback also not needed for the Seals, I don't think. The precedent isn't there. They've only taken 3 cornerbacks in the first round since 1979. It's just a position they don't value very much. Just be physical, be good against the run, and be a reliable tackler. So I don't see cornerbacks them taking in the first round.
It's definitely overblown, I think, for the Steelers as far as cornerback is concerned. Well, let's head to the other side of the state now, guys, in the Philadelphia Eagles. A much better season for them, 10-6, winning the NFC East, and also getting a home playoff game for the first time in 2 years. First time in 2 years they're back in the playoffs in general. On a first-year head coach, Chip Kelly. Interesting offseason the Eagles have had so far. Tyler DeGiacomo, my Philadelphia wingman over there, is going to help me out with this block. Well, the Major League Lacrosse team. I literally just made that reference up right now. But anyway.
What is going on?
Yeah. The Eagles, of course, the big move they made this offseason, letting their top receiver go into Deshaun Jackson. He now signs with the Washington Redskins. So now that becomes a big need, I think, for the Eagles in looking towards the first round. Also, defense is a little bit of concern. Kill them in the playoff game, especially against the Saints. So, Tyler, we'll start with you on some draft needs for the Eagles.
No, you're absolutely right, Matt. Releasing Deshaun Jackson was a big thing in Philadelphia and around the league, really caught off guard. I think before the draft happened, Eagles were definitely going defense. They got beat up a lot there. Now releasing Jackson, I think they definitely have to get a wide receiver. Now I'm going with Odell Beckham Jr. I mentioned in my top 5 receivers, junior wide receiver from LSU. Again, not elite size. It is a system fit. I think the system is great for him. He's 5'11", 198. Chip Kelly loves his toys and his gadgets. Picked up Darren Sproles there in the offseason. Darren Sproles 5'7" there. Odell Beckham Jr. can come out of the backfield, can work the slot, can come off the wing there. I think, as I said, Chip Kelly loves his gadgets. Love having people in multiple positions there. Also got outside linebacker, number 2 there, and safety. Definitely need to fix the deep defensive strategy there. But yeah, I think Eagles, if they had Deshaun Jackson, we're going defense. I think it's the right move to get rid of Jackson. Some internal issues there. Beckham Jr. will fit right in that system. And Chip Kelly, once again, can I ever say that he loves his gadgets, love having guys in multiple positions. He'll have a field day.
Yeah, certainly interesting pick there, Tyler, because we've seen small guys like Deshaun Jackson, like Shady McCoy, and I'm sure we'll see from Darren Sproles this year, thrive in the offense. But Chip Kelly loves big and tall receivers, and I think there is one big move left in the Eagles here in the offseason, and I think you're going to see it in this draft. But before I reveal that, you'll see it now on the graphic coming up here. Some of my thoughts here for the Eagles in this draft. Obviously, talked about receiver. Definitely outside linebacker and defensive end. Definitely in need of a pass rusher. That was the biggest Achilles heel for the Eagles defensively last year and actually cost them a couple of games, and that killed their secondary a little bit, which was a lot better. And next I have inside linebacker for the Eagles. It's not a dire need right now, but DeMeco Ryans has done a great job, but he's not getting any younger. The Eagles need to start adding some depth there. And there are some guys in this draft that would fit well in this system that are similar style to DeMeco Ryans, like C.J. Mosley, for an example. I think would be a good fit for the Eagles, possibly as a second-round pick. But because the Eagles let go of Deshaun Jackson, they're forced to go with receiver first, so I think that's what they will address in this first round and then go with defense from there. If they stay at 22, I think you're going to see Marquise Lee, receiver from USC, go to the Eagles, a guy that burned Chip Kelly in the Pac-12. That seems to be a pattern going along here with Chip Kelly. Anybody that's burned him offensively in the past when he was at Oregon, he's taken as an Eagle. So desperate as Mark Sanchez just got signed with the Eagles a couple of weeks ago as the backup. Matt Barkley's on the team. And obviously Nick Foles is the starting quarterback, and he had a couple of games while he was at Arizona. So I think you can see that there. But like I said, I think there's one big move for the Eagles going here, and that is I think they're going to trade up somehow, some way, and go and get Mike Evans. Yes, they only have 6 picks so far, but there's a lot of movement. A lot of teams want to move down. People will be interested, I think, in talking with the Eagles and moving up. And they made a lot of bold moves so far. And you know what? For the majority, it has worked. So I don't think the Eagles will lay down and try and go quietly as the offseason goes along. So those are my 2 thoughts for the Eagles going forward.
I just don't know with the picks that they can make that trade, but it's an interesting thought.
Tyler, your quick thoughts?
Just quickly on there, I don't think the Eagles are going to sell the house for Mike Evans. If they do trade up, anybody they get probably a free safety. Haven't had any play back there since Brian Dawkins left. If they do go up, they go for probably another safety. They get burned a bunch of years ago, drafting Brandon Graham in front of Earl Thomas. Hopefully, the Eagles don't make that mistake Once again, the outside linebackers are good there, but I think definitely defense needs to build somehow. As I said, definitely need that presence there in the defensive backfield.
Yes, certainly. A lot of groans from Earl Thomas during the Seahawks Super Bowl run this year. Coming up next here on CU Countdown, we're going to go underrated and overrated. Plus, we'll take a look and see if any PSAC prospects can make it in the NFL. That's next here on CU TV.
Welcome to my block party. Glad you can make it.
The only triple doubles you get come with fries.
I can do this all day. Your moves are just gay.
Using gay to mean dumb or stupid, not cool. Not cool. Not in my house, not anywhere. It's not creative, it's offensive to gay people. And you're better than that.
At Sheetz, your favorite meal on the go is just a touch away. The MTO, or made-to-order menu, is the perfect way to quickly get food that will satisfy any craving. Don't worry about trying to decide which fast food restaurant will satisfy your taste. Sheetz' wide variety of choices and simple ordering system makes the decision easy. For those especially hectic days when time is at a premium, Sheetz also offers the MTO to-go case with quick grabs. Sheetz is conveniently located at 1281 East Main Street in Clarion.
Give up on sex, don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Welcome back to CU Countdown NFL Draft Special here on CU TV. Matt Catrillo here with you. Time now to go overrated and underrated. Alex Kozora, Tyler DeGiacomo rejoining me here. Guys, let's first go overrated. Tyler, I'm going to start with you.
So my overrated would be Bradley Roby, cornerback from Ohio State, 5'11", 192, a junior. Had a pretty decent combine, ran a 4.39, which was solid. Actually struggled in the 3-cone drill. Attempted 5 times and then walked away from it and did not finish it. So little issues there. A lot of off-the-field issues. Arrested for battery a couple years ago. Talk about the cone issue. Needs to be more mature and accountable. Tends to look at his teammates a lot when a bad play happened. Kind of like that DRC and that awesome walk with the Eagles a couple years ago. Tend to look at his teammates as them being the problem. Also gets caught peeking in the backfield a lot. Tend to go for the big play and try to be that ball hawk, and got burned a lot trying to go for the ball for an interception, and guys went right past him. Does have a little of durability issue. Dealt with a knee and a shoulder issue last couple of years. A lot of nagging injuries. But overall, a very good cover guy. That's how he is. He plays great man-to-man, not so much in the zone, but a great cover guy there. And I said he's a ball hawk, and when he does go for the ball, he gets it most times. Most times he's going to miss that ball and get burnt. So it's kind of a 50-50 proposition there with Roby.
Alex, you're overrated.
I'll give you 2, and they're both Auburn guys, and I promise you I'm not a Florida State fan. But I'm going to start with Greg Robinson, the guy that everyone says is a top 5 kid, and I do love the raw potential. You're going to see on this play here, this is the good Greg Robinson. I guess I'll start with that. You see him, the athleticism at his size. Get out in the flats. I mean, he's 335, and he blows up that safety and allows Trey Mason to score. He's an impressive athlete, but he's an inexperienced pass blocker. It was an option system, so he never had to really kick slide at left tackle. Even didn't have to base block that much because it was an option system. There's a lot of down blocking, not really a lot of phone booth kind of blocking. He does not carry his lower half at all. He's always on the ground. He's raw fundamentally, even if the physical is there. So I do like him, but in that top 5, you're taking a gamble on what he can be molded as. I would start him as a guard in a power scheme and just tell him to base block and maul guys, because he can do that, but he is so raw as a pass blocker and technically unsound. The other one is another Auburn guy, D. Ford. I just see him as Aaron Maben. He's a guy that has one rush, and that's a speed rush. He's 240, doesn't have a lot of bulk. He's bad against the run. Those one-trick ponies will not last long in the league, so I'm not a fan of D. Ford.
Interesting you talk about Greg Robinson, Alex, because a lot of people have him going 2nd overall to the St. Louis Rams, either him or Jake Matthews or some other
mid-first for me. That's my personal. I'd say mid-first round. I think that top 5 seconds is just too high.
I'll go now with my overrated, and I have Darqueze Dennard, the quarterback from Michigan State. Good player, but I just think he could be so much better. And to me, out of the guys that I've watched, he's the most frustrating player that I have seen in this draft. He has really bad habits that kill him in coverage. Turns his head away from the ball. He grabs a little bit too much, gets totally beat to the inside a lot, which all led to penalties and big plays. Like I said, good speed, very good feet, and his versatility. Does play special teams, but I just think overall he can be so much better, and it's just really frustrating to watch on him on tape.
I mean, yes, he's physical. I mean, he is lioness, and receivers are his blanket because he just holds on to them the whole time. But that's what makes him so good. I mean, he is very physical, and he plays the ball in the air so well. So I'm not the biggest fan of Denard, but I'm also not calling him, a bust.
And especially the way referees have been calling pass interference now. I mean, if I just do this, they're going to throw the flag. So I mean, he's going to get himself penalized a lot, and it's going to take a lot of coaching. I think he can almost be almost a project because of how pass interference is called now in the league.
Yeah, that toughness and grit, though, you don't get from a lot of guys to have the strength to do it, so I just disagree.
Well, let's go now to underrated, and Tyler, we'll start with you.
So it's me again. 2 offensive linemen for you. Going to go to another Ohio State guy, Jack Mehort. He's an outside tackle, 6'7", 308, a senior, Ohio State. Stayed there 4 years, a 3-year starter, great durability, didn't deal with many injuries. I'm not sure if it's consecutive start streak, but a great job there. Also a team captain, so it shows he's a leader, very vocal. The guys look up to him on that team, and that's a hard thing to do as a lineman per se, but it's a good job there. He is an average pass and run blocker, but he has been getting better each year. Look at the tape from his freshman to senior year. He had 4 years of experience, a 3-year starter, did dabble a little bit his freshman year there. Great guy there. As for his size, Alex loves size there. 34-inch arms, 9 and 5/8 hand side, still solid there. But a guy that'd be drafted like 2nd, 3rd round or so, a guy that could be a solid guy in the line right there. So a good guy right there in the middle, late rounds. That's number 1. Quickly, I guess I'll go to John Urschel, Penn State, local guy, very smart, 4.0 math GPA there. Needs to be more nasty. Reminds me of Marco Rivera of the old Green Bay, another Penn State guy. Very solid guy on the line.
Interesting couple of names there, Tyler. Alex, let's get your thoughts on
I love the Urschel pick. He wrote a paper, and I have to read it off my paper. I can't remember it. He wrote a paper entitled "Instabilities of the Sun-Jupiter Asteroid 3-Body Problem." That was a paper that he got published.
Is he an NFL Ilya Brizgalov?
He might be. He taught an undergraduate course. I mean, the guy is so smart. Let's see if it translates on the field. For my underrated, though, I'm going to start with Billy Turner. He's a left tackle. You see him on the screen here out of North Dakota State, 6'4" and 7'8", 315. A great athlete. He moves well, can mirror in pass protection. On his punch and pass protection, he will get flat back. The head will come down, so there's some technical work there, but he's a really good athlete. And no, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's an interesting stat. He's played 7 years of football, from high school to college. He's lost 15 games. That's it. I mean, I know you talk about winners, we talk about quarterback, but still, he's a guy who all he knows is winning. That's the culture that he's been brought up in. That's all he knows, and I think he's a good 3rd-round pick or so, an FCS kid. The other one, just real quick, he's my man crush. I absolutely love him. I would draft him 1st overall if I could. That's only slightly hyperbole, but Chris Borland, inside linebacker, doesn't fit the cookie-cutter mold because he's got 29.25 arms, but a guy that active hands, sheds blocks well, great guy in the weight room, better athlete than people say. He can do a backflip, and a great leader, always working with the community. Coaches love him. Pat Fitzgerald, Urban Meyer at the Big Ten award ceremony, they shook his hand. They say how much they love to watch him play. Just a big Chris Borland fan. Motor, fundamental tackle, stuffed Carlos Hyde twice in the Ohio State game. Can't say enough good things about Chris Borland, Matt.
Yeah, it's a really interesting factor there, and a good thing you're not the GM. I don't know if some Steeler fans would certainly like that, to say the least. Well, quickly, to go with my underrated guy, I like Michael Sam a lot. I really think he can be a 2nd-round pick. I think his speed is a lot better. Yes, he has to work on a swim and spin move, but again, kind of like how we talked about Khalil Mack earlier, a guy that can weave in and out of defenders easily. You see he forced a big fumble there in the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma State that won him the game. I just think overall there's a lot I think people can look at. I know he just came out as a gay player, and I congratulate him from that. I'm really happy that he's able to do that. But I just hope it doesn't kill his draft stock just because of different media hype and things like that have been talked about Michael Sam in the past. So I hope it's not the case. But I just think that overall there's a little bit more talent than what people think about Michael Sam.
Just real quick, I don't know if the talent's going to translate the combine numbers, so he didn't look good. Is he going to have that fluidity, that hip and ankle flexibility? But I just hope getting to him coming out as the first gay NFL player, that it's all, as the old adage goes, it only takes one team to fall in love with him, and they're not going to care who he falls in love with.
And before we go to break, guys, I'll go to you, Alex, on this one, because you like watching the PSAC guys and the small school guys. Anybody on your PSAC radar that could possibly get drafted or have a chance to make an NFL roster?
Larry Webster has a great chance, the defensive end from Bloomsburg. He did work out at tight end as well at his pro day at Bloom. They just held it. He's going to get drafted for sure. A freak athlete, basketball player for most of his college career. I think he only has 2 years in football. Possibly other Bloom guys, Franklin Cuite, priority free agent, Brian Clark, Matt Filer, Dewey McDonald from Cal, probably maybe 7th round, and then Super Region 1, Howard Jones out of Shepherd, outside linebacker, is going to get drafted in the 5th or 6th round.
Some players to look out for from the 1st round all the way to the 7th round. It's always very interesting with the NFL draft. Coming up next here on CU Countdown, we're going to reveal our top 5 projections and seeing who's going where as we get ready to kick off the 2014 NFL Draft in just 3 weeks. That's coming up next here on CU TV.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. I'll teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
Can't find your one-of-a-kind ingredient? Looking to challenge your appetite with exotic flavor? Your search ends at 6th and Main's unique array of groceries and ingredients. Specializing in the not-so-widely available, 6th and Main is Clarion's supplier of the striking tastes that shape a stylish palate. With their varied styles and unmatched selection, 6th and Main has got the taste you have only dreamt about. Let your taste run wild at 6th and Main.
I got no pulse, we're losing him.
Charging. He's in VFib.
Shock him. Drives it road all the time. He just had a few drinks. This can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. You just buzzed. Just buzzed? You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right, this isn't happening. He'll be fine.
I feel good.
Really? No, not really.
Buzz driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
And welcome back to CU Countdown NFL Draft Special here on CU TV. Matt Catrillo here with you, Alex Kozora, Tyler DeGiacomo rejoining me. And let's get to it now, our top 5 projections for the 2014 NFL Draft. Alex, let's start with you.
Now we're going to see the graphic here of my top 5, and we're going to start with Houston, obviously. I'm going to go Jadeveon Clowney. You just look at BPA, who is the best player on the board. I mean, quarterback's in play, but maybe Bortles, his stock's fallen a tiny bit, though this is the year for misinformation. I mean, that's how the draft process goes. But the best lineman out, the best player out there, you pair him with J.J. Watt, you're going to have a great combination. 2, St. Louis, Jake Matthews, just because I think Roger Saffold could play guard. You have Jake Long, who's coming off of 1 ACL. His contract's really as a pay-as-you-go situation, so they could cut him if they want to in the next 2-3 years. And then you have Jake Matthews to possibly give you at worst a right tackle like what Kansas City did with Eric Fisher, or left tackle this year or next. Number 3, Jacksonville, Blake Bortles. I'm a big fan of that. You need a franchise quarterback. Either you don't have one and you're looking for one, or you have one, you can be successful. And Bortles fits that well, and I like him the best out of the quarterbacks. Now, my number 4 is interesting. We didn't get to talk about him a whole lot. I think this is what will happen, not maybe what should happen, but I know the Browns, they love Derek Carr. They want to make a big splash. They want to get their franchise quarterback. I mean, I don't know if he'll be there at 26, so I say something crazy happens, and they take Derek Carr at number 4. The rumors have been floating out there. And then number 5, Oakland, Sammy Watkins, to give him that big play receiver. They want to inject some energy into that offense, and Watkins will definitely do that.
So 2 quarterbacks going in the 1st round, according to Mr. Alex Kozora. And Derek Carr, again, the very interesting pick, the hot commodity among the quarterbacks, I would say. And again, I think it's a reach. I know you would probably think the same thing too. But but the way that this draft might go this year, you could be right. I mean, you just never know.
You're getting reports of Tom Savage could go in the 2nd round at this point. So quarterbacks are just rocketing up.
Tyler, let's go with your top 5.
No, I agree with you, Derek Carr thing a little bit. Not sure if the Browns will trade the 2 picks to get the quarterback and need a lot more players there. But my top 5 come here on the screen. They're all in agreement. Jadeveon Clowney, number 1. Texans definitely need a quarterback, but a lot of quarterback depth might trade in the top of that 1st round and pick up one of those quarterbacks. You have Mettenberger there, a Carr maybe floating around there, and maybe Savage you're talking about. But Clowney's definitely number 1 player on the board right here. Number 2, Sammy Watkins. Alex went with Jake Matthews here. I think Jeff Fisher loves his gadgets, loves his athleticism, and definitely going to draft Watkins right there. He's a very great player there. Number 3, very interesting, the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Johnny Manziel. It's very interesting. I know, but Manziel I've actually rated above Bortles and Bridgewater, and I think that Blaine Gabbert experiment went kind of wrong. Not to go with the hoity-toity one and go with Manziel putting butts in the seats, but I think Jacksonville is a very lively franchise down there. and Menzel could flourish there. Number 4, I have Blake Bortles, the best quarterback in this draft. I believe that the Browns are building. Browns are pretty good. Bortles could go in there this year, make an impact. A couple years down the road, be even better. I think new head coach Mike Patton, the guy who coached high school around me there, North Penn High School, be a great coach. Both of them can grow together. Number 5, Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's a great fit for the Raiders' scheme. And for their mindset out there. Very good guy. Again, some issues with him, his size and his likeness and his arm a little bit. But I think he's great in that silver and black there. So again, I have 3 quarterbacks going to top 5 there. Not sure what's going to happen. A lot of trades going around there. But very interesting to see 3 quarterbacks in top 5.
So you've got 2 quarterbacks. Tyler's got 3. I got to say, guys, I'm a little bit stunned right now. I personally don't think you're going to see that many go in the first round. But the way this draft is going to be this year, really, who knows? But I only have 1 quarterback in this first round. But Johnny Manziel going to the Jaguars, I could see it happen. Again, the butts and seats factor. But when you're trying to build a team, guess how you get butts and seats, Jacksonville? It's called winning football games. And you're not going to do that with Johnny Manziel, in my opinion.
Just real quick about you being surprised about 3 quarterbacks. Without a quarterback, you can't win games. It's the way the league is. You have to have a franchise quarterback. So I'm not saying Manziel's the guy, but I'm saying that you're surprised at 3 quarterbacks. That's how you win. That's where it starts.
Right, but I don't know. Just with this class alone, yes, I think some of these guys can play, especially Bridgewater. But again, I think Bridgewater is the only one that's top 5 worthy.
Let's see your top 5.
Well, we'll see my top 5 right now. And speaking of Teddy Bridgewater, I have him going 3 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He, to me, out of this 3, again, the big 3 especially, is the best quarterback in this draft. A guy that you want to build around, Alex, the point you just made. I think that is a quarterback to go to for Jacksonville at number 3. Number 1, I have the Houston Texans taking Jadeveon Clowney. We're all in agreement with him there on what kind of an athlete he is. And actually, Alex, you and I are the first 2 exactly the same. Clowney 1 and Jake Matthews 2. I've raved about Matthews all show long of what he can do. The Browns at 4, I have them taking Sammy Watkins. They can use some more help at wide receiver. They have Greg Little. Yes, they have Cameron as well, Jordan Cameron. But I think they can still use a little bit more in their receivers. I think Sammy Watkins would be a good fit, and a good fit for quarterback Brian Hoyer, who I think could be the franchise guy, or could end up being a franchise guy for the Cleveland Browns. I like what I saw from him in a little bit of game action that we saw from him last year. I think Cleveland's going to give him a chance, and they should give him a chance. So I think adding a receiver like Sammy Watkins definitely helps them out there. At number 5 to Oakland, I have Khalil Mack going there. But I know they just brought in Justin Tuck. I know they just brought in Lamar Woodley, but you can't count on those guys to stay healthy. And to me, Khalil Mack definitely a far superior athlete than those 2 combined, and I think he can bring a big help to a really struggling Oakland defense.
Yeah, you can't forget about Brian Hoyer. I mean, that's a good point that you make. And to pair Watkins opposite Josh Gordon, talk about explosiveness, that vertical threat. Teams are going to have to play cover 2 and that 2 shell to protect against that speed. You can't underestimate that.
And you talk about what an explosive offense Cleveland would need. They would just need a running back pretty much now at this point. And you would have 2 teams in the AFC North that would have explosive receivers. We already know what Cincinnati's capable of. And Cleveland adds to that. That could help them in terms of just maybe trying to become a playoff team or even a division contender at this point.
I sit here awkwardly.
Yeah.
Last-minute thoughts. No, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for you.
Now let's go to some last-minute thoughts as we ended the show here. Tyler, I'm going to start with you.
Last-minute thought. I'll touch on Tom Savage again, a local guy, another local guy for me. Played at Cardinal O'Hara High School right near me. Saw him play in high school. Played here at Pitt. Traveled around a lot. Was at Rutgers for 2 years. Then came to Arizona. Didn't play at all. Came to Pittsburgh, didn't play in 2012, and played at Pittsburgh in 2013. Very good guy. Solid backup. I know, Alex, that's a very weird term for
not a fan.
Advice, solid backup. But has a great arm. Not great accuracy, and learned some stuff, but got the great arm, got the size there. Reminds me of another local guy for me. Came went to Penn State and Delaware. Pat Devlin, the backup for the Dolphins right now. Very good guy right there. I believe that's it for all of my.
Alex,
just real quick, yeah, I don't get solid backup quarterback. It's like calling a backup wide receiver. He's made a great backup wide receiver. There's no other position that says that. Let me give you 2 names. I love the small school guys. Roy Finch from Oklahoma. I think he's tree archer light, 7th round, priority free agent. A guy that didn't have a big productivity in college because of some work ethic issues, but he turned things around his senior year. Explosive. I saw him in the NFLPA bowl game. 1 cut and go, maintained speed through his cuts. So he's a scat back. He's not a full-time guy, but I'm a big fan of him. And Jamie Metter from Ashland, the nose tackle, just a lot of just core strength. Played 5-tech for him. Did well also in the NFLPA game. I just love his strength and his leverage. A big fan of him. Again, 7th round possibly, a priority free agent.
Well, certainly, guys, it's going to be a very fun and very interesting NFL draft. And I think, like I said in the top of the show, I think this is going to be the most active first round, and I think maybe the most active draft that we're ever going to see, just because the way some prospects are this year, the way teams' situations are at this point. That's basically my final thoughts. I think we're going to see the most active draft in NFL history. Very excited to see it. And, of course, we still have to wait a little bit. Normally, we're usually kick things off and it'd be starting the night after. But, unfortunately, we still have 3 weeks to wait, and we can't watch this year, guys. I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I know. And it's just the NFL, they want to spread the offseason out a little bit more. And that's a little unfortunate, but I guess
we'll have to Skype each other during the first round.
Not a chance.
Just one more point real quick. I forgot. I think the New York Jets, it's a big draft for them. They got a lot of solid offseason guy. If the Jets can pick up a tight end and a cornerback, the Jets could make some noise. The AFC East is not really that good. The Dolphins are kind of dropping off with the turmoil. The Bills are dropping off now with the death of the owner, with Ralph Wilson, Donald Trump buying there. But the Jets, a team that won 8 games last year, wasn't projected to do that with a rookie quarterback. They could win 8, 9, 10 games and still that wild card and sneak into the playoffs this year. That's a big to watch out from this draft.
They just signed Chris Johnson today to a 2-year deal, so definitely a team to look out for this year's
Chris
draft.
Borland, drafting, you're out there. Please draft Chris Borland.
That's a message down I-79 to Mike Tomlin there for the Pittsburgh Steelers from Alex Kozora. Well, that's going to do it for this year's edition of CU Countdown NFL Draft Special, our annual draft show. We want to thank our director, Carl Dickensheets, and all of our crew here at CU TV for staying an extra half hour. I know they hate us for this. I know they're really going to want to go home and watch the Penguins right now as they're playing right now in Game 1 of the playoffs against Columbus. So thank you very, very much for staying extra half hour, guys. We really appreciate it. It's one of our biggest passions and one of the best times of the sports year, and we really thank you for the extra half hour.
Play the music for the Academy Awards.
For our crew here at CU TV, for Tyler DeGiacomo and Alex Kozora, I'm Matt Catrillo. Enjoy NFL Draft Weekend.